Okay, another video, again, with my father as a source. My father has lived a very interesting life. He is now in his early 80s and has spent time in the Navy, spent a significant amount of his career working in the telecommunications industry, and as a result has been around, seeing a lot of things. And my dad's a pretty mainstream guy when it comes to this sort of stuff, but I grew up hearing stories like what you're about to hear and knowing some of the players in these stories and realizing that there was much more to the world than what we were getting from, you know, kind of the official narrative. I realized early on in my life that there was the official narrative, and then there's kind of what was behind the curtain, and then maybe what was behind that curtain. So, but at any rate, I've corresponded with some of you about some various topics, and one of you had mentioned that you wanted to hear more from my dad about his experience with missionaries being used for covert operations. So I went to see my dad this past spring and got him talking about that and got him to relay the story of how he encountered what appeared to be a CIA operative trying to get a position as a missionary so that the church would basically take on the role as his cover. And of course, the church, the mission committee was unaware of this, but he said some things that kind of set my dad's spider sense tingling, and my dad put the kibosh on that, and they didn't wind up picking this guy. But anyway, I'm going to let my dad tell the story from there. But again, this is another one of those things where I really think it's always a good idea to pay attention to the people you're talking to and around you. More of us than people realize are rubbing elbows with the covert world and probably don't know it. So I'll get into that some more in some other videos, but I'm trying to take a lot of things like personal people that I know that are willing to talk. My dad, of course, being in his early 80s now, is not worried about anybody coming after him or anything. And he has quite a few very interesting stories to tell. But again, he takes pretty much a very mainstream view of things, but he has experienced some very bizarre things that I think are important pieces of the puzzle. So anyway, without further ado, here's my dad with his account of a CIA guy trying to work his way into the mission program at our church when I was a child. And what year was that?
Well, it would have been before while we were still on Plano Road, the church. It was before we built the one over on Campbell Road. So it would have been like, it was 84 or 85, something like that.
Well, they built that in
85.
when they christened that. So yeah, and they tore it down in 82 because we were in limbo for about 2 years. So it would have been before 82, because wasn't the church working with somebody to go down to Guatemala? Because didn't Robin go on a trip to Guatemala at some point?
No, sure, to Belize.
Belize, that's it. Okay. So yeah, anyway, around that era.
Yeah, so that was before I got the job up here in Oklahoma City at Cellular One. So anyway, what the deal was, we had a mission committee meeting, and a guy came to see us. He was a Harding College alumni, and I wish I could remember his name, but he got his bachelor's degree at Harding, and then he was a doctor, MD. And he wanted to go to Liberia. And Firestone had offered him a medical clinic if he would come over there and run it, and he could be a missionary over there and run this medical clinic. And so I said, well, why is Firestone wanting to give you a clinic, you know? And he said, well, that's classified. And he said that too fast, because when he responded that quickly, I knew something was wrong. So anyway, he was claimed to be a lieutenant commander in the Navy as a medical doctor. And anyway, he gave us all these credentials. And so I was talking to some of the elders and the rest of the mission committee members about it. And I said he was just a little bit too glib and too fast. about how he was going to get a free clinic to run a clinic over there as a medical mission. And so I was still mulling it over, and I talked to a guy by the name of Dan Merrill that was a medically retired Air Force captain and flew tanker planes in the during the Vietnam fracas. And I told him this guy's name, which I've forgotten now, but and told him what the deal was, how he was wanting us to send him over there. And he said, "Well, that guy's not a Navy guy." He said, "I saw him out in California in a Air Force captain's uniform." And I said, "Well, what's the deal?" He said, "He's a cotton-picking spook is what he is." He said, "He's wanting to get that cover to do spy work in Liberia." In Liberia, I looked it up, and Liberia had certain critical minerals available from Liberia that the United States government wanted, and they wanted a spook over there to run it. And anyways, I went back to the mission committee and told them that we shouldn't do it because we would be being a cover for a spy operation. And they said, well, anyway, we decided not to do it. And I said, well, the deal is that Church of Christ is a perfect cover for a spy operation because the Church of Christ has a central organization, and you can do a lot of neat, spooky stuff with a church cover. So anyway, a few months later, I read somewhere that that guy had been killed, the guy that was wanting to be the missionary over there, and they just mentioned it in the Harding alumni book. And anyway, that was the idea that he did some kind of spook work and was a medical doctor and also wanted to have that kind of cover over there. But it was Liberia was the place he was wanting to go.
And he wanted to go to Liberia. You guys weren't looking for someone.
No,
to
he came in
to you shopping out a.
Yeah, he was made a presentation about how all we have to do is pay his salary and he would have a free clinic over there and could do medical mission work. So it just seemed a little bit too good to be true.
Now, recently over at Richardson East, didn't you mention something to some missionary that was in there? You said something about CIA recruiting missionaries or something to that effect, and they said answered in the affirmative.
Yeah,
that was a common thing. So
now that was about the time I told you about the Earl Tomlinson deal.
Oh yeah. Poor Earl. I found his Twitter feed. So he is a party line guy. If you want to know what the agency's position is on something, pull up Earl Tomlinson's page.